So, good morning, Getrude Matshe. It is wonderful to have you here today. And so, the topic of conversation today is going to be digging into her story, its origins, why you created it, what collectively this movement is looking to achieve. And so, first, I mean, I've read some things about you. You're an author, you're a social entrepreneur, you're an inspirational speaker. But really, who is Getrude Matshe, and what are just a few things that you can tell us the world about yourself?
Thank you so much, Lucy. It is an absolute honor to be connecting with you this morning and connecting with your community as well. So I am Getrude Rwadzano Munyaradzi Matshe. I didn't want to challenge you with all my names, but I was born in a small village on the eastern highlands of Zimbabwe and Mozambique called Wedza. I'm the mother of three amazing human beings. I have a son who is 31, a daughter who's 29, and another young man who's 23. And they are the loves of my life. I call myself a serial social entrepreneur with a vision and a mission right now to connect 1 million women through a social impact movement called the HerStory Circle. We are on a mission to change lives one story at a time, one woman at a time, sharing our experiences in business and entrepreneurship, health and wellness, family and relationships, spirituality, social justice, and in the creativity section, you can dance, you can sing, you can paint a picture, all forms of creative expression. Our circles were started in July last year. I was recovering from heart failure, and I realized that the work that I have come to accomplish in this life could not be done alone. I had been trying to do it alone. I had a few projects based in Zimbabwe, here in Southeast Asia, in the Caribbean, all centered around women and children, but in particular to try and help women to get out of poverty. And while I was recovering from heart failure, this idea dropped in my mind like it was on a still lake on a very quiet day during one of my meditations. And it came like an A4 piece of paper with a diagram of silos of women sitting in circles of 10. And there were lines that went out that connected the other 10 and lines that went out that connected another 10. And I knew I had to bring women together in some way. I'd been speaking in conferences all over the world for the last 20 years. And I always felt when I went to a conference that there was so much more that we could do as a collective. The feminine energy that would be in the room was electric, and we would go and we would do our presentations and go home. And so my platform is completely different. We meet to uplift, to inspire, to share knowledge, to share ideas, to create collaborations. But in every single location where we meet, we have a mission to find grassroots projects that are run by women, that are focused primarily on women and children, the elderly, the homeless, or the disabled. And we raise money through the sharing of our stories and try and make a difference in every single location and have a social impact. So that's me in a nutshell, trying to change the world one woman at a time, one story at a time. And it has been absolutely phenomenal what has been achieved in the last year, despite being stopped in our tracks with COVID-19 6 months after we launched. The movement has continued online, and some absolutely magical things are about to happen.
So I'm super curious. I'm very intrigued about these magical things, and it's remarkable and amazing that you've managed to galvanize this momentum and this great feminine energy, as you describe it, despite some of the global changes and setbacks. So you mentioned some of these magical things about to happen. So I'm curious to hear more about that. But first, can you tell me maybe one example of one woman's story that has either inspired a community or that has been for you a defining and remarkable moment thus far in the Her Story journey?
Oh gosh, I have so many stories, Lucy.
It's hard to pick one, right?
There was a woman that I met at the very first event in Las Vegas. Jerry was 73 years old, had never had the courage to speak in public before. And that's the other aspect of her story. We are not just looking for refined speakers. We're looking for those women who've never had the opportunity or the courage to step up and be heard. And so she went up on stage. I remember having a little conversation with her before, and she mesmerized the audience. And then I shared a little story about how little girls in Zimbabwe don't go to school if they have a period, because our government in Zimbabwe is not importing menstrual product for women at affordable prices. And what happened with Jerry is, since July, when I met her, she converted her garage into a workshop. She started inviting other women to come and help her. She raised money for sewing machines and overlockers and fabric and material. And she has made 1,000 kits. And in each kit, there are 12 pads that are reusable. They can be washed. There's 3 little pairs of panties. Most little girls get raped because they don't have underwear. She's included 3 bars of soap. And she's also included a little chart, a menstrual chart, so they can track their days and really predict when the period is coming. Now, this is an issue that every single woman faces every single month. But there are people in this world who don't have the luxury of getting access to what they need. And little girls in Africa are badly affected. So she's made 1,000 kids. Now I have to raise the money to get them to Africa. And then the logistics of that, realize that I'm going to be battling with customs duty. Just getting them to the community might be a challenge. And I had another suggestion that maybe the best thing to do would be for her to help me find sewing machines and overlockers and money for the material, so we can start a cooperative in those villages and give employment to the mothers. Then the girls will get their product. And through a magical series of events, we did manage to problem solve getting the first lots to Africa through the Rotary Club. So I'm a Rotarian. She managed to find Rotarians in Los Angeles, and it's going to go from one Rotary Club to the next. And that's going to be a social impact project. So we're about solving major issues that surround women in very small ways and in sustainable ways as well. It's all about sustainability for me.
And I hear both from the individual transformation that Jerry experienced, despite maybe being blocked in that her whole life. By 73 years old, she was able to step out of her comfort zone, and not only just step out of her comfort zone, but also inspire. So you have these individual transformations you're looking to unblock and action catalyze. And on top of that, there are these large, sometimes countrywide systemic problems, like the young women getting access to good sanitary care. And then on top of that, using that as a kind of train or a vehicle to leverage women empowerment, community empowerment, economic empowerment for the mothers. So thank you for those 2 very distinct and diverse, but very concrete examples. Fantastic. So that gives us a flavor of some of the stories that have already enabled and sparked change thus far in Her Story movement. What I'm curious to understand in a few words is you've mentioned about what the transformations that are moving forward and some of these specific stories, but really, what is Her Story Global Women Empowerment Conference or movement? How would you describe it in a few words?
Oh, in a few words, I would say that we are an army. We are an army of women with a vision to uplift, to empower, to inspire, to collaborate, to connect. You know, we get stories from all walks of life. And what we try and encourage women to do is, even if you have been raped, if you've experienced domestic violence, if, like me, you're recovering from heart failure, you've had cancer, tell your story from an empowered space, imagining that somebody is listening to you online, is going to come to the event, and you become the door that they walk through and they can see light at the end of the tunnel. There's always something good that happens, even in the most terrible circumstances. How can we transmute our pain into power? And how can we empower each other through the stories? So I would say, in an essence, that's what it is.
Fantastic. Powerful woman army to transform, to cause transformation for the good. And those were such beautiful words and really resonated with me what you said there about causing this transformation, but also to enable good for the greater community. And that light at the tunnel, opening the door both for themselves and other women who get that possibility to be exposed to their story. And there's a phrase that I use in our community, which is called "courage is contagious." And so when one woman takes a stand and is bold enough to share her story, it inspires and causes a catalyst, a domino effect that enables others to do the same thing. And that's maybe how we get to that 1 million women that you mentioned. So okay, I hear this story of heart failure and this personal motivation in setting this up, understanding now what is her story. Now you mentioned this vision and ambition to empower and connect 1 million, not 1,000, but 1 million women. Can you tell me, Gertrude, a bit more about that? So this vision for HerStory, what does that look like?
The way I see it, they say that it takes very little effort for a candle to light other candles, very similar to what you've just said, right? It's when you stand in your light and you shine, somebody else can just ignite by watching and seeing you. And it's not going to be that difficult. It's already proved to be easy because it is like a fire. I today have spoken, I think, to 30 women since 5 o'clock this morning. So I have been going nonstop every single day. And what I realize is that we are co-creating this together. It's not my idea. The idea might have come through me, but every single woman who is stepping forward and saying, I want to be a part of this vision, has got a piece to the puzzle. It's like you know, this interview is going to reach a whole community in Europe that I didn't have access to. So that's what really makes me wake up every morning and do what I do. I know I'm a good connector of people, and it's like a superpower. And we all have these superpowers, and empathy and compassion and connection are superpowers that every single human being has. How can we harness that? And how can we make a difference in each other's lives?
Wow, fantastic. How can we harness our superpowers and make a difference in each other's lives? So, Gertrude, I'm getting a very emotional listening to and you speaking, and I'm feeling all these different emotions come up. And what I'm wondering is, for those women who get involved in this HerStory global women empowerment movement, what would you say are maybe the top 3 emotions that you anticipate they will experience by being involved in this community?
Bring lots of tissues. You will be moved by the stories. I try and help women to speak from the heart. Be ready to be completely transformed or changed. They say that every human being is like a door into another world. You will hear stories from women who do not have a platform to speak. So we have created a scholarship fund, and we have sponsored women from very, very poor communities who will be joining us and telling you their stories. But most importantly, you will leave empowered and uplifted and with a lot of gratitude, if you know where you are and you can have contrast to see what the world is like in other women's lives as well. I think that's one of the things that a lot of women have come back to me. It's like somebody holding up a mirror to your life and you realizing just how lucky you really are.
Wow, fantastic. So we've got empowerment there, uplifting, and gratitude, and really some beautiful metaphors, Gertrude, with the mirror of one's life, opening the doors to opportunity and more. Well, I'm very much looking forward, and I can very much imagine, given the parallel work that I do, empowering voices, empowering communities, of these intense moments of inspiration that are quite magical, and in a way you can't grasp them. So we try and find a way to be able to spread this word. But I guess the call to action in a way there is get involved. Can women, are they able to experience this magic without really joining the movement? Or why do you think this is many people, they're busy, we've got busy lives. Why is it relevant to get involved in HerStory now versus any other time?
COVID-19 has given humanity a gift. We are at the cusp of transformation like never before. I don't think the world will ever quite go back to the way it was. COVID has united humanity in a very magical way. It has helped us prioritize what's really important in our lives. I lost my mom on the 25th of April. I didn't get to go back to Africa to bury her. And I had to stop and channel my emotional energy on something positive. So this is in memory of my mom. And she used to say to me, so long as you're this side of the grave, there is no stopping, there's no giving up. And I know that a lot of people have been impacted. It doesn't matter what country. Girls, we need to do the work. It could be caring for a neighbor next door, an elderly woman who can't go out and get her groceries. So the ethos of HerStory is the Ubuntu philosophy. In Africa, we believe that humanity is one. We are an organism. In Africa, we believe in community. People live in streets where you know every single person in your street, you know the grandparents, you know the children. And when I left Africa, I found myself thrown in societies where people don't look you in the eye. I actually felt like I was disappearing because my very existence in Africa hinged on the people around me. And so I kind of made it my life mission to spread Ubuntu wherever I went all over the world. And that's something else that you will get to learn, that we are more connected than we are different. When they finished sequencing the human genome, they found that every single human being on this planet is 99.9% the same. Our perceived differences are only skin deep. So in Ubuntu, there is no you, there is no me, there is only we. So I'm hoping that you become inspired to find a different way of being. I hope you come because you don't want to continue sleepwalking through life and not being aware of things that are happening around you. When the AIDS pandemic happened in Africa, I was about 17. And when I moved to the Western world and I would share the pandemic stories, I could feel people's eyes glazing over, and it was like it's happening over there. People couldn't quite relate to the plight of African people because of AIDS. Humanity has impacted every single corner of the globe. And there is work to be done in every single community. And this is what this is about. It's not just about a small group of women trying to make a difference. It's about you taking care of your community as well. So I think that's the most important thing for me.
Thank you. Thank you, Gertrude. A lot of emotion there and where that came from, why it's so important to you, but therefore why it's not relevant to just you, to just I, but to all the women communities around the world, that we can really, in that Ubuntu philosophy, stand together and find this new way of being, especially in the context of the challenges in the world that we face. So I think we'll leave it there with these so many beautiful words of inspiration. Come to get inspired, empowered, uplifted, get a great sense of gratitude, hear inspiring stories, and together we can make a collective difference and we can make an impact. Thank you so much, Gertrude. And I want to see that big, beautiful smile of yours.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to everybody listening. Please spread the word. Bring your daughters, bring your granddaughters, your nieces, bring young boys, young men. Men are allowed to speak on the platform as well, because I believe that until we start bringing men into the room, the condition of women around the world will never change. So we're not limiting her story just to women. We want those enlightened men to be in the room and to share as well. So thank you again, Lucy, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Gertrude. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Bye-bye, everybody. Namaste.